Hello and welcome to News Tonight, where we get you the day's biggest news and events from across India and the world. I am Tina Jha. Let's begin with the top stories of the day. Prime Minister Modi arrives in Tokyo for a 3-day visit to Japan. Will take part in the 13th annual bilateral summit with Japanese Premier Shinzo Abe. Both countries to sign significant agreements to boost economic and defense relations. Personal ambitions eroding ideology of the Congress, says Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. Asserts that caste-based political parties will not benefit the country. BJP President Amit Shah condemns arrest of over 2,000 devotees in the protest against entry of women of all ages into Sabrimala Shrine. Says left front government will have to pay a heavy price if it uses police force to harass innocent devotees. Stone pelters get a tough warning in Jammu and Kashmir. Army Chief General Bipin Rawat accuses them of abetting terrorists. Wants Pakistan to stop fomenting violence or face tough action. And political turmoil in Sri Lanka. President Sirisena suspends parliament till 16th November, on a day when former President Mahinda Rajapaksa is appointed new Prime Minister. Deposed Premier Ranil Wickremesinghe challenges removal, says parliamentary majority is still with him. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Japan on Saturday to attend the 13th India-Japan Annual Summit with his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe. The 2-day summit beginning Sunday will review the progress in ties and deepen strategic dimension of the bilateral relationship. Soon after landing in Tokyo, the Prime Minister said he was confident his visit will add new vigor to the strong friendship between India and Japan. Early on Friday, before leaving for Japan, Prime Minister Modi described India and Japan as a winning combination and said the island nation was New Delhi's most trusted partner in its economic and technological modernization. In Japan, the Prime Minister will have wide-ranging talks with his counterpart Shinzo Abe and also interact with business leaders and captains of industry from both countries. He will also address the Indian community there. In a special gesture, Prime Minister Modi will be hosted by Shinzo Abe for a private dinner at his holiday home in the picturesque Yamanashi prefecture on the 28th of October, that Sunday, which will be perhaps the first such reception to be extended to a foreign leader. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley addressed the first Atal Bihari Vajpayee Memorial Lecture in New Delhi. He said dynastic politics of the Congress has led to the erosion of the party's ideology. He also said attempts are being made to undermine the authority of elected representatives. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Saturday said the personal ambitions of the Congress leadership has led to the erosion of the party's ideology. Jaitley was speaking at the first Atal Bihari Vajpayee Memorial Lecture at the India Ideas Conclave. He said dynastic tendencies of the Congress had turned India into a fiefdom. He further said short-term calculations had compelled the leadership to attend gatherings where anti-India slogans were raised.
Would Mrs. Indira Gandhi or Mr. Rajiv Gandhi ever have gone to a congregation where a slogan was raised, Bharat ke tukde tukde? Certainly not. But the degeneration of ideology because of personal grievances or personal ambitions compelled the Congress party leadership to do so. And today, there are many who are changing this discourse.
Finance Minister further said caste-based politics can never be beneficial for a country. He regretted that attempts were being made to create a power shift by weakening the authority of the elected. Referring to the separation of powers, Jaitley said the concept is a part of our basic structure and no government or party should violate it. He said the judiciary at times is going beyond its scope and interfering in the functioning of the executive.
In fact, greater encroachment into the functions of other organs, both through entering the executive domain, at times laying down legislative guidelines under Article 142, by a process of misinterpretation, not interpretation, as in the judge's appointment case, usurping a power which belongs to the Parliament, we can actually see the principle of separation of powers at times being obliterated or diluted. It's a tendency which must be avoided, and we require statesmanship of all institutions to do so.
The Finance Minister said people of Kashmir should stand with the government and not with the separatists in the fight against terrorism. He also underlined the need to create an alternative discourse in the valley. With inputs from Panchanan Mishra, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Union Minister Piyush Goyal, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and RSS General Secretary Bhaiyaji Joshi also addressed the Ideas India Conclave. Listen in to what they had to say.
The governance deficit that we have been able to remove, or I would say reduce substantially in the last 4.5 years of this government, will certainly prepare India, will certainly empower India for decades and decades of prosperity in the years ahead.
जनधन योजना से चली हुई योजनाएं आज आयुष्मान भारत तक आते आते इस देश के 21 करोड़ परिवारों तक अपनी योजनाओं को पहुंचाने में सफल रही है। जो आजादी के बाद उपेक्षित थी, अपने आप को प्रताड़ित और अपमानित महसूस करती थी।
आज की युवा पीढ़ी को हम कौन सी दिशा में ले जाना चाहते हैं, आज की युवा पीढ़ी को क्या देने की आवश्यकता है, उनके जीवन में क्या आने की आवश्यकता है, इस प्रकार की समाज की प्रभावित करने वाली, संचालित करने वाली सभी व्यवस्थाओं ने इस पर ध्यान देने की आवश्यकता रहेगी। फिर यहाँ का सामाजिक, धार्मिक, राजनीतिक सब नेतृत्व इस दिशा में अगर पहल करते हैं, फिर हम दुनिया के सामने भारत एक भिन्न प्रकार का खड़ा करने में हम सफलता हमको मिल सकेगी।
A day after a 22-year-old army jawan was killed in stone pelting in Kashmir, Army Chief General Bipin Rawat said stone pelters should be dealt with sternly. Terming them as overground workers of terrorists, General Rawat said if Islamabad continues to support cross-border terrorism, then the Indian Army can resort to other actions as well. The Army Chief also asked Pakistan to desist from aiding and abetting terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir, asserting that no one can take Kashmir away by force or any other means, as it is legally and legitimately an integral part of India. Talking about cross-border infiltration, General Rawat said Pakistan would be wise to know that by indulging in such activities, harm is coming to itself. On Infantry Day, the Army Chief paid tribute to the numerous infantry soldiers who died in the line of duty.
आतंकवादियों के जो कैंप हैं उन पर लगातार उन्हें ट्रेनिंग दी जा रही है। पाकिस्तान की फ़ौज उन्हें सहयोग करती रहती है। हमारी कार्रवाई ये है कि हम तो संदेश सिर्फ पाकिस्तान को ये देना चाहते हैं कि इससे नुकसान आपको पहुंचेगा। हम तो घुसपैठ रोकने में काबिल हैं और जो आदमी या जो आतंकवाद हमारे देश में घुसपैठ कर लेता है हम उसको अंदर ख़त्म कर सकते हैं। लेकिन अगर इस तरह का माहौल बना रहा और इस तरह का सहयोग अगर वो घुसपैठियों को देते रहे तो हमारे पास अन्य कार्रवाई करने के भी हमारे पास सहूलियत है, हम कर भी सकते हैं।
BJP President Amit Shah has extended full support to the protest by Ayyappa devotees on the Sabarimala temple entry issue. Addressing party workers after inaugurating the district BJP office in Kannur in Kerala, BJP chief said the left government was trying to suppress the agitation by force in the name of implementing the Supreme Court verdict. He also condemned the arrest of over 2,000 devotees, including RSS and Sangh Parivar activists, who were agitating across the state against the court's order allowing entry of women of all ages into the temple. Amit Shah said the LDF government led by Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan will have to pay a heavy price if the agitation continues to be suppressed.
स्त्री पुरुष समानता किसी मंदिर में दर्शन करने से नहीं आती। हमने कई सारी ऐसी चीजें अपने आप हमारे जीवन में सुधारी। विधवा विवाह को मान्यता दी, बाल विवाह को हमने रिजेक्ट करा दिया। परंतु जहां आस्था का सवाल है वहां पर मैं मानता हूं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी का कार्यकर्ता भगवान अय्यप्पा के भक्तों के साथ चट्टान की तरह खड़ा रहेगा। हमें कोई नहीं।
Home Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurated the two-day national conference organized by BJP's youth wing in Hyderabad. He called upon Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha workers to act as socio-political crusaders to transform India into a world leader. The Home Minister further said the country's economy will grow further to become one of the 3 top world economies by 2030. He further said the dreams of having good governance have been realized after many decades of independence only during the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Saturday's event was attended by party workers from different parts of the country. BJP President Amit Shah is scheduled to address a massive public meeting on 28 October.
आज जैसे हालात पैदा हुए, सारी राजनीतिक पार्टियां भारतीय जनता पार्टी के बढ़ते हुए प्रभाव से इस समय डरी हुई हैं। सब मिलकर चुनाव लड़ना चाहती हैं। मैं कहना चाहता हूं, जितना बड़ा अलायंस करना चाहते हो उतना बड़ा अलायंस करो, हमें कोई आपत्ति नहीं है, लेकिन एजेंडा तो सही होना चाहिए। इनके पास देश हित से जुड़ा हुआ कोई एजेंडा नहीं है। इनके पास एक ही एजेंडा है, मोदी रोको, मोदी रोको, मोदी रोको। बस एक ही एजेंडा है, इसके अलावा कोई एजेंडा नहीं है।
The Supreme Court has rejected a review plea filed by historian Romila Thapar in the Bhima Koregaon case. Thapar had filed a plea against the verdict that refused an SIT probe into the arrests of 5 activists in connection with the violence. This allowed the Maharashtra police to continue with the investigations. Meanwhile, activists Vernon Gonzalez and Arun Ferreira, both accused in Bhima Koregaon case, have been sent to police custody till 6 November by a Pune Sessions Court. The activists were taken into custody on Friday, hours after their bail pleas were rejected by a local court. The Maharashtra government on Friday constituted a 3-member committee to examine if any of the cases registered during the protests after the violence and the Maratha quota agitation are fit for withdrawal. Indian Revenue Service Officer Sanjay Kumar Mishra was appointed the new Chief of the Enforcement Directorate in an additional capacity. Mishra's appointment as ED Chief is for a period of 3 months or till the appointment of a regular incumbent, whichever is earlier. The post of ED Director is an additional secretary rank post in the central government. Mishra will take over from incumbent Karnal Singh, whose tenure ends on 28 October, that Sunday. Before his appointment, Mishra has worked in various capacities in the Income Tax Department and has also served in the Foreign Tax Division of the CBDT. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has said that development and conservation are not mutually exclusive goals. Speaking at the presentation ceremony of the Earth Heroes Awards instituted by the Royal Bank of Scotland, the Vice President said sustainability should be the core of our development philosophy. He also applauded India's firm devotion to the cause of conservation and sustainable development, especially the gains made by the country in the field of renewable energy.
Nature has inexorable laws. If we have to survive, we need to nurture, to protect and nourish us. That is why the ancient sages have called the earth as Dharitri, or the one who sustained us. We have to take care of it so that it takes care of us. Today we face threats to our survival as a planet on a scale that was never before anticipated. This beautiful, fertile, abundant planet of ours is at great risk. Unchecked and unbalanced development, rapid and wasteful extraction and consumption of natural resources, thoughtless waste disposal, excessive use of fossil fuels, and rapid deforestation are ravaging this planet.
Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena suspended Parliament till the 16th of November. The move comes after sacked Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe sought an emergency session to prove his majority. Sirisena's move is seen as an effort to allow Mahinda Rajapakse to buy more time to seek majority in Parliament. The Rajapakse and Sirisena combined has only 95 seats and is well short of a simple majority in the 225-member House. Wickremesinghe's United National Party has 106 seats on its own, with just 7 short of majority. The move to suspend the Parliament came in the wake of an urgent request from Wickremesinghe to convene an emergency session of the House. Sirisena's UPFA quit the ruling coalition, capping months of rising tensions between the President's bloc and Wickremesinghe's United National Party. Sirisena, along with some UPFA lawmakers, including from his SLFP party, had formed a coalition government with Wickremesinghe's UNP soon after Sirisena unexpectedly defeated former ally Rajapakse in a presidential election back in January 2015.
I am the Prime Minister under Article 42 of the Constitution in accordance with the 19th Amendment. There was a motion of no confidence against me in Parliament. It was defeated. A majority voted against it, showing that they had confidence in me. That situation has not changed. Since I have a majority, I remain as the Prime Minister and I will function as the Prime Minister.
To discuss the constitutional crisis in Sri Lanka, we're being joined on News Tonight by Professor S.D. Muni, Foreign Affairs expert. Sir, a very good evening and thank you for joining us on News Tonight. First of all, tell us, sir, where is Sri Lankan politics headed to? Is President Sirisena's action in handing over power to Rajapakse constitutional and legal?
Well, this is almost a constitutional coup, because the constitutional provision do not allow the President to dismiss the Prime Minister. And this change was brought about under the 19th Amendment, which the Prime Minister had just now mentioned there. Secondly, you can remove a Prime Minister if either he resigns or he dies or there is a vote of no confidence. Now, the power to dismiss a Prime Minister, which the President had earlier, before the 19th Amendment, is no longer there. Therefore, it is a clear constitutional coup which the President has brought about. Obviously, there are political reasons behind it, but constitutionally, this is not valid.
All right. Also, sir, given that no side now has the majority and with the Lankan Parliament being suspended till 16th November, what options does Ranil Wickremesinghe have to contest this action that's been taken against him?
Well, he can only ask for the Parliament to be summoned and therefore test the majority there. I think the 16 days will be used by President Sirisena and Rajapakse to maneuver their majority, which is not very easy job.
Yes.
Because the UNP has on its own quite a substantial number. I think they need about less than 10 to prove their absolute majority. Then there are Tamil parties. There are other smaller parties like JVP and others. So let us see how the equations emerge. But the effort would be to cobble up a majority, and that's why the Prime Minister's request for summoning an emergency session of the Parliament may not be acceded to. But that's a real, that precipitates the constitutional crisis, because the new Prime Minister cannot establish his majority in the Parliament, and the old Prime Minister who had established his majority is not allowed to function.
Yes. So, sir, over the months, what do you think were the factors that led the Sri Lankan president to sack his Prime Minister and appoint a new one?
Well, I see there are two powerful factors which have been working, and anyone who has been observing Sri Lanka could see these indications years back. Soon after the new government came into office, the UNP and the SLFP had never been together with each other. Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe as a UNP Prime Minister was dismissed even earlier by another SLFP president, that was Chandrika Kumaratunga. But at that time she had the constitutional powers to do that. These two parties have been rival and competitor to each other for decades. And in fact, the SLFP was born out of the UNP. So there is obviously an ideological and political rivalry between them. Secondly, I feel that President Sirisena, soon after election, said that he is not going to contest for the second term. Obviously, it seems that he has changed his mind. He probably wants to contest for the second term. And he knows that Ranil Wickremesinghe would actually be the rival candidate for presidency. And that's why he's falling back on his own old SLFP. And Rajapaksa is a convenient ally there, because Rajapaksa, under the constitution, cannot contest. He has already been a president for 3 terms. And Sirisena is hoping against hopes that Rajapaksa would mobilize support in his favor for his second presidency. I think these are the power and political personal considerations which has probably driven this kind of a crisis. But it is a real crisis, and we do not know how it would really unfold in the days and weeks to come. Even this is not sure if Rajapaksa will ultimately continue to support Sirisena even for presidency, because his own brother is very keen to come and contest. He himself would want to change the constitution and the 19th amendment to be amended so that he himself can contest, because he had removed that bar for 2 terms and he thought that he and his family would continue to govern. That was one thing which really brought him down.
And it's quite a worrisome situation for India as well, because Mahinda Rajapaksa's return is going to be a big worry for India. Do you think it could impact the development projects that India is investing in the island country?
Well, the development projects between India and Sri Lanka are already being affected. I will refer to you the MOU signed between the two countries in 2017, in which it was admitted that many of the projects have slowed down, largely because Sri Lanka's on Sri Lanka's side. And it was promised in that MOU that Sri Lanka would now help expedite some of those projects. And all these projects are still wherever they are. You are right that India has a cause of concern in this political crisis which has been precipitated, largely because India has been named. I would refer to you the last couple of days reports, last week's reports, in which Sirisena seemed to have alleged that there is an assassination attempt on him, in which RAW and other agencies and some of his supporters have said CIA and RAW are combining together to. Now they have brought in India largely to rake up the constitutional issue, largely to rake up the nationalism issue. That look, the foreign agencies want Sirisena to go, and therefore he should be supported. Last time also Rajapaksa, when he lost, he blamed India, though later on he amended his terms. Sirisena has also amended some of his statements, saying that no, I directly did not blame India. But the reports and several other sources are saying that he did make a very clear reference. Sirisena is also against some of the projects which were supposed to be going to India, like the East Terminal, container terminal on the Colombo port, which is being built by the Chinese. And he says that only Sri Lankans would be able to build. Now that needs huge money, and Sri Lanka is short of capital. So if you don't have money, how the Sri Lankans are going to build it up? But he's raking up the nationalist issue and saying that Sri Lankan projects must be done by Sri Lanka, and we can't hand over these very critical, sensitive projects to the foreign countries, which indirectly applies to India. Now that's why I say the way politics is turning in Sri Lanka is a matter of great concern to India. Though both Sirisena and Rajapaksa apparently have said that they want to have very great friendship with India, they have nothing against India. But we must try and read between the lines, and I think one needs to have the diplomacy worked up, streamlined, to see that India's vital interest in the island neighborhood are not unnecessarily damaged.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on News Tonight with those vital details. Moving on in the bulletin, if there has ever been a golden era for sports in India, it seems to be now. Indian sportspersons have been in the best of form in 3 multi-nation games this year: the Commonwealth Games, the Asian Games, and then the Youth Olympics. Indian athletes are not just performing well, they're also creating new firsts in every sport. According to the Indian Olympic Association, it's all due to government policies and efforts made by sports organizations. Here's a detailed report. At the Jakarta Asian Games this year, India won 69 medals. It was India's best ever medal haul at the Games. With 15 gold, 24 silver and 30 bronze medals, this edition of the Games saw India creating new records. A first medal in sepak takraw, a gold in shooting for Rahi Sarnobat, first Indian woman to win one in the sport. Vinesh Fogart emerged the first Indian woman to win gold in wrestling. There were also several medals in track and field events.
हम काफ़ी अच्छी स्थिति में हैं जो आज से 10-20 साल पहले थे उससे हम काफ़ी बेटर हैं लेकिन हमें दुनिया से लड़ना है तो हमें अपने आप को और परफेक्ट करना चाहिए और जो हम कह रहे हैं कि हमारे जो जितने लेजेंड्स हैं पुराने लेजेंड उनको खेलों में लाया जाए उनकी जो नॉलेज है जो उनका एक्सपीरियंस है उसको हमको कैश करना चाहिए।
सबसे बड़ा बदलाव जो आया है ये एक तो स्पोर्ट्स को इम्पोर्टेंस मिल रहा है उसको अटेंशन मिल रहा है और जब स्पोर्ट्स को अटेंशन मिलेगा तो बहुत प्लेयर्स बहुत स्टेक होल्डर्स जो आते हैं वो साथ में आए हैं सो आई थिंक ये सब जब एक साथ काम करते हैं आई थिंक तभी बदलाव आ सकता है।
The Indian Olympic Association says the best ever performance of Indian athletes this year was solely because of government policies and efforts by sports organizations.
पॉलिसी आई थिंक ये एक मिला जुला एफर्ट है एनएसएस का एनओसी का स्पोर्ट्स मिनिस्ट्री का प्राइवेट जो हमारे बिजनेस हाउसेज हैं सबका मिलकर ये जॉइंट एफर्ट है और जिससे एक चीज़ है राइट डायरेक्शन में एक ट्रांसपेरेंसी आ रही है ओपननेस आ रही है जो चीज़ें ज़रूरी हैं। जब तक आप ट्रांसपेरेंट और ओपन नहीं होंगे आपने काम करने के तरीके में तो रिजल्ट्स आने मुश्किल होते हैं। तो
Part of this focus on sports can be seen from the increase in budgetary allocation for sports. In the Union Budget for 2017-18, the government allotted 1,943 crore rupees for sports. In 2016-17, the figure was 1,592 crore rupees. In 2016, the 140 crore rupees were earmarked for Khelo India. This raised to more than double at 350 crore rupees in 2017. Along with the funds for training, the government is also focusing on the health and well-being of sportspersons.
जब देश का कोई प्रधानमंत्री अपने भाषणों में और अपने कार्यक्रम में ये प्रस्तुत करता है और प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जो आओ इंडिया खेले बच्चों के बीच आम लोगों में ये संदेश देना ये अपने आप में खेल जगत को प्रोत्साहित करने का एक बहुत बड़ा कहिए उस नीति को आगे बढ़ाने का एक कदम है।
At the upcoming 2020 Olympic Games in Japan, the Union government is looking to win at least 10 medals and a tally to 50 at the next Olympic Games in 2024. With inputs from Bipin Chauhan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And news just coming in that West Indies have beat India in the third ODI in Pune by 43 runs despite Virat Kohli scoring a century. And now the 5-match series is levelled 1-1. The second match, remember, ended in a tie. West Indies were 283 for 9 in 50 overs, while India made 240 in just 47.4 overs. With this, now the series is tied 1-1. And that's it from us in this bulletin. Thanks for your time.